अमामि शंकराचार्य गुरुपाद सरोरुहम् यस्य प्रसादान् मूढोऽपि सर्वज्ञोऽहं सदा भवम् कामाक्षी करुणारूपं कामकोटि जगद्गुरुं चिन्मूर्तिं कलजे चित्ते शंकराचार्य पब्जयम् वेद वेदांत साम्राज्य धर्म कामार्थ मोक्षदम् विद्यारण्यन् उमः पुण्यं यो विद्यारण्यमथ्युनत् सदाशिवश्री ब्रह्मेन्द्र धृत स्वपद पादुकान् धीरान् परशुभेन्द्रार्यान् ध्यायामि सततं हृदि अपार करुणा सिन्धून् जानतं शान्तरूपिणम् श्री चंद्रशेखर गुरुं प्रणमामि मुदान्वहम् देवे देहे च देशे च भक्त्यारोग्य सुखप्रदम् उथ पामर सेव्यन्तं श्री जयेन्द्रं नमाम्यहम् नमामि शंकरान्वाख्य विजयेन्द्र सरस्वती श्री गुरुं शिष्टमार्गानुनेतारं सन्मतिप्रदम् सदाशिव समारंभां शंकराचार्य मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्य पर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्. In this year, the 2500th Aradhana of Shri Shankara Bhagavatpāda Acharya was completed, and starting on the auspicious occasion of Ashadha Shukla Ekadashi, Udhanuradha Punyakala, on which our Shri Kanchi Kamakoti Mulamna Sarvagya Peethadipati Jagadguru Shri Shankara Vijayam Saraswati Shankaracharya Swamigal completed his Kashi Rameshwaradi Tirtha Yatra by himself performing Abhisheka to Ramanatha Swami, with the prarthana of doing the anusandhana of all the Shankara Vijaya Granthas. We have started this prayatna, and currently we are examining the Anandagiriya Shankara Vijaya, which was composed by one Anandagiri, who identifies himself as a direct disciple of Srimad Shankara Bhagavatpāda. So this is one of the earliest Shankara Vijayas, and now we are in this 10th session. We are seeing the 7th prakarana, as the adhyayas or chapters are called in this text. And so far, we have been seeing how Bhagavatpāda has had discussions with the followers of Shaiva Mata. What exactly is Shaiva Mata? Shiva Bhakti coupled with some other Siddhantic opinions. And Bhagavatpāda has guided them, and also some people who are belonging to various subdivisions of Vaishnava Mata. Again, Vaishnava doesn't refer to a particular group of people, but those who are following Vishnu Bhakti as the Pradhana Upaya for moksha. And along with that, again, due to the various Siddhantic differences among them, there are many subdivisions there also. So with all these people, we have seen in the earlier prakranas how Bhagavatpāda discusses with them with very much in a cordial manner, and he points out to them whatever the aspects of their Siddhanta or their Mata is against the Veda, or which does not have proper sanction or proper pramana in the Shruti Smritis. And based on that, and Bhagavatpāda especially, he points out that one has to attain, no matter what the form of devata that one does upasana unto, one has to attain Advaita Jnana to attain moksha. And as per the Shrutis, that is what Acharya has been pointing out all along, and with very much karuna, he has been guiding all these people who all no doubt performed many years of upasana to their Ishta Devata, and he has brought them to the level of the Advaita Sakshatkar. Evam Bhakta Bhagavata Matayoho Hirakratayoho Punaranyo Vaishnavaha. So after the Bhakta Mata and the Bhagavata Mata have been discussed, another Vaishnava, meaning another Vishnu Bhakta, Sharngapani Riti, his name is given as Sharngapani, and he was an Upasaka of the Ashtakshara Mantra. And he was very much dedicated to that, and he quotes some other verse which he believes to be a mantra, saying Yamuktvam Uchyate Yogi Janma Samsara Bandhanat. Quoting this, he says, Sa aha Bhagavat Bhaktena Vaikuntha Loka Vasartham Avashyam Shankhachakrad Yankanam Kartavyam. So he again, as we have seen earlier, the Shiva Bhaktas have given importance to the wearing of the symbols of Shiva on their body. Likewise, this Vishnu Bhakta says that it is very important to wear the symbols of Vishnu on the body. And he says, Narayana Mudradi Dharaha Narayana Ashtakshar Ucharana Matrenaiva Janma samsara bandha vimuktaha vaikuntha bhavanam gavishyati. So it says, by wearing all those symbols on the body and by pronouncing or chanting the Ashtakshara Narayana mantra, one will be absolved of the, one will be released from the samsara is, and he will attain Vaikuntha is what he keeps saying. So evam prapte ahur acharyaha. So Bhagavatpada clarifies again, as he has mentioned earlier, towards the Shaivas also. He says, what is the kind of wearing the Vishnu Chinha or Shiva Chinha that is prescribed in the Shruti Smritis? Certain procedures are recommended, like the Tiryak Puntradharana or the Urdhva Puntradharana, but some other procedures are contraindicated. And so, whatever pramana, one particular sentence from the Veda that they quote, that one has to be a tapta tanu for attaining moksha. That verse, Bhagavatpada clarifies what is the meaning of tapta tanu. Because the Manusmriti says, Mahayajñescha yajñescha brahmiyam kriyate tanuho. This body, this physical body, indeed, it is the instrument by which we do all kinds of satkaryas. We do upasana unto Bhagavan, and that is why it is said, Shariram Adyam Khalu Dharma Sadharam. So, whatever that anusthana that we are doing using this physical body, that is tapas. The Veda gives many passages, describes what is tapas. And the tapas is shown to be the sadhana of siddhi. And again, Veda mantras, Veda passages are there. So the body with which the tapas has been performed, that is the tapta tanu. That is the correct interpretation of that. Tapas shabdarthastu, it is very clearly explained here. Mahapataka dhvamsa hetu bhuta krithara chandrayanadihi. Whatever prayashchitas and other anushtanas are useful for removing all kinds of sins that we may have accumulated, those are called tapas. So by doing that tapas only, we will attain siddhi. And what is the form of that siddhi, and what is the, whether by doing the upasana of a saguna murti, because they are dedicated to the upasana of Vishnu and others are dedicated to the upasana of Shiva. What is the extent to which one can attain siddhi by doing the upasana of Saguna Murti is examined further. So he says, Bhagavatpada says, it is described in the Puranas that there is a mythical Meru Parvata, and in the mythical in our Bharatiya context does not mean that it is pure imagination. As far as we are concerned, it exists in some plane of existence as per the Veda Shastradi Pramanya, even though we may not find it in a physical form. So Mervagre Shringeshu Trishu Vartamaneshu Pashchima Shringe Rudralokaha Madhyama Shringe Brahmalokaha Prag Shringe Vishnalokaha. It is described in some Purana. In the Meru Parvata there are three peaks, and in the western peak there is Rudraloka, in the central peak there is Brahmaloka, and the eastern peak it is said to be Vishnaloka. And all the upasana devatas which people perform upasana unto, they reside in these lokas. But these are also having name and form, and whenever and they are also part of the Chaturdasha Bhuvana Prapancha. So when the Chaturdasha Bhuvana Prapancha attains Laya, and all these lokas also have to get dissolved. So how is it possible that attaining these lokas itself is moksha? Because it is also not permanent. And further, we have to understand, there is no pramana by saying that just purely by wearing all these symbols. Yes, wearing some of the symbols in a certain way is definitely prescribed. But the main sadhana through which we can attain moksha or liberation is to realize one's own oneness with the Upasya Devata, whether you call it as or by the name and form of Shiva or by the name and form of Vishnu. We have to realize that we are one in truth, we are one with the Devata. Only then we will attain moksha. So it says, Vishnu Chinha Dharanena Vishnu Samoham Bhavishyami. Iti ched Ankadharana Matrenaiva na Vishnutva Prapti. How can you become Vishnu? Just by wearing the symbols of Vishnu. You have to realize that you are Vishnu. That is what is said in the Shruti Vakyas. And further, Bhagavatpāda also points out an adhikarana from the Upanishads and the Brahma Sutra, in which it is said, this is a very interesting description, a very day-to-day description from day-to-day life, which the Veda itself gives. It is described Kathavalli Upama Prayogaha Kathavalli Kavehe Ayam. It is as if there is a poet within the Kathavalli, the Kathopanishad, which gives this description. When Bhagavan does pralaya samhara of all these worlds, all the jiva rashis who are there in the world, they are all as if they are rice. And there is something, we can't eat plain rice. We need something to mix with the rice, whether sambar or something else, to mix with the rice, and then we will eat rice. But that sambar or whatever it is, that upasechana, as what is called in the Upanishad, that upasechana, we don't eat that alone. We eat that for the purpose of eating the rice. And because rice cannot be eaten by itself. So, Swayama Anyadana Hetutve Sati Swayamadhyamanatvam. Yes, why should Vedanti Mahatmas be discussing what is the Lakshana of the Upasechana Padartha, which is mixed along with food? Because the Upanishad has given such an example. So, Bhagavan, for him, during the Samhara Kala, all the Jiva Rashis are as if they are rice, and Mrityu, which does samhara of all these things, it is as if it is the sambar or other mixed padartha, and through that Bhagavan dissolves the entire all the jiva rashis, and he dissolves them, and he merges them within his form. That is the samhara prakriya described in the Upanishad. And so this, what does this indicate? Bhagavan has the paramarthika, the higher form of Bhagavan, beyond what you are doing upasana unto. The upasana is done within this particular kala when srishti has been done, the sthiti kala we can call it. But after pralaya, all these forms will not exist. So there exists an Ishwariya form of Paramatma, which is after the pralaya also, it will continue to exist. But whatever we have to attain, whatever we have to merge with, even that form is beyond even this one. So that is nirupadhika. It is totally devoid of any connection with the prapancha whatsoever. And that is the form that we have to realize, to merge with, to attain permanent moksha. Because even this Ishvara form, it is also connected with the prapancha. It creates the prapancha, it destroys the prapancha. So it is not totally devoid of connection with the prapancha. So, but if we want to attain a permanent moksha, a permanent solution, then we have to attain that form of Paramatma, which is even beyond Ishvara, which is Nirupadhika. So, in other Shruti Vakyas, it says, Sarvesham Devanam Atma Ekayanam. It is said in Brihadaranyaka, no doubt. But that it seems to say as if that there are many Devatas, and the Atma is the single Adhara for all these Devatas. But we have to realize that again, this is also referring to the Sthiti Kala only. The actual Nirguna Swarupa of Paramatma is beyond all these. Even the action of Upasana or any other action that you can perform, is that Nirupadhika Swarupa of Ishvara of Paramatma is beyond that. So all these Devata Rupas, whether you want to call it as Vishnu or Shiva, all these Devata Rupas are various forms for convenience of Upasana of the single Paramatma only. That we have to realize. So this is what has been described in much detail in the Upanishads. So it is, we have to only by realizing that Prapanchatita Swarupa, we can attain moksha. So it is not correct to say that just by wearing all these symbols, we will be, we can cross samsara and attain moksha. So once Bhagavatpāda has advised all this with all the pramanas, and this Sharngapani, he was, he has completed, he has been doing dedicated upasana to Bhagavan Vishnu over so many years. So as a phala paripakva of that upasana by the guidance of the guru, and he realizes that so far he has had some misconceptions, and then he understands that Advaita is the Shrutyartha. Evam upadishtaha Shargapaniriti Vaishnavaha Shri Shankaracharya Paramagurun Natva Swaminne Bhavadupadeshena Kritarthosmi Itah Param Shuddha Advaita Vrittau Soham Bhavana Parilabdha Phala Nirastha Bhida Shankayam Nishchayena Varteham Iti Dandavanna Nama. So he realizes that once his whatever intellectual misconception he had, once that was removed, he says that hereafter I will continuously practice the bhavana that I am one with that Vasudeva. Shuddha Advaita Vrittau Soham Bhavana Parilaptha. So by the fruit of that bhavana, all the Dvaita vasanas that I have will be removed from me. And he did namaskara to Bhagavatpada, and what a great anugraha Bhagavatpada does to him. Acharyaha tam mukto bhava ityavadit. This is the word for that one has to receive from a guru. So once the guru has said this, the receiving the moksha is absolutely confirmed. So that anugraha he got from Bhagavatpada tadanantram. So he later on takes up, later on after this discussion, he takes up not only the upasana of Vishnu to understand that the single Paramatma Tattva is within all these forms. He takes up the Panchayatara Puja, which has already been described in the previous chapters also, to understand that the various forms are the forms of the single Paramatma only. Pancha Puja Naipunya Tripta Sakala Deva Datta Varaha. So whatever the Devata Rupas, each Devata Rupa is prescribed for a particular kind of phala. For example, Vigneshwara, the puja of Vigneshwara is especially prescribed for the removal of obstacles. So whatever the Devata forms are there, he got the anugraha of all the Devata forms of the single Paramatma who is present in all the Devata forms, and he goes back to his village. Swakula Grama Deshasthana Deshasthana Asheshana Evam Achakara. So what the other people who are also in his village and in his region, he taught them that this is the tattva which is shown by Bhagavatpada, and it is the correct interpretation of the Shruti Smriti Pramanas. Anandagiri Kirtau by Prakaranam Saptamam. So thus ends the 7th Prakarana, and after this is the Pancharatra Mata discussion. That is another variety of the Vishnu Bhakti Sampradaya. Evam Parihrite Vaishnavapate Punaranyaha Pancharatra Agama Dikshitaha Pratyavatishthate. So another person who was especially who had the Diksha of the Pancharatra Agama, he comes and he objects. Sachu Shankaracharyam, Shri Shankaracharyam Idamaha Swaminne Bhavanatra Agatya Bhakta Bhagavata Vaishnava Mata Nirasanam Kritva Vartate. So you have come here and you have changed all these people, the Bhaktas, the Bhagavatas, and the Vaishnavas, but he is very much proud of the particular tradition of Vaishnava Vishnu Bhakti in which he is involved. So he says that it is important that one has to understand the Pancharatra Agama Siddhanta. So he says that this Pancharatra Agama is the important grantha for Vishnu Bhakti. That is his opinion. And the Ashesha Vaishnava Diksha Karanam. So that is why I am following that Pancharatra Agama, he says. And he says that one of the important principles of the Pancharatra Agama is, as per his, we do not know whether it is actually in the Pancharatra Agama or not, it has to be examined. But he says that because, as we have mentioned earlier, many of these people in those days, and even we can understand that they have had some misinterpretations of what is actually in the text. Beyond what is actually in the text, they have some particular things that we are very particular about. And because of that, they insist on those things. But Bhagavatpada, he points out that these are not actually given in the text, and they are, in fact, so they are baseless. Some of these things are definitely Pramana Bhuta, And so the clarification of this is what is needed here. So Bhagavatpada talks to him and he says, so because he says that other than Vishnu, we do not do upasana of any other devata or any other mantra. That is one important principle he seems to insist on. So that taking that point, Bhagavatpada discusses with him. He says, Acharya ridamuchyate bho Vaishnava samichina muktam bhavata. So again, as mentioned earlier, Bhagavatpada does not assume a confrontational attitude. He says, yes, there is a role for the Pancharatra Agama, the Vaikhanas Agama, so many other Agamas are there. There is a role for the Agamas. There is no doubt about that. So whatever you say that it has to be followed from the Agama, I give respect to that. Vicharyamane Veda Aviruddhatvam Agamesti Chet Tadukta Acharopi Grahyeva Bhavati. So once we examine what is there in the Agama, if it is not conflicting with what is said in the Shruti Smritis, then the Agamokta Achara also should be taken up. So that is why all the procedures of the temples and all these things are given in the Agamas only. And whoever is following the Vaishnava Agama, they will feel that it has been given to them by Vishnu himself. And whoever is following the Shaiva Agama, they will have the tradition that it has been given to them by Shiva himself. So that is connected with their devotion to their Upasya Devata. So now let us discuss what is the meaning of the word Vaishnava. You say that you are the correct Vaishnava. You feel that you are the true Vaishnava because you follow Pancharatra Agama. So what is the meaning of the word Vaishnava? He says, okay, Vishnu Eka Devata Niratah. So again, as I said earlier, I would like to reiterate, whatever is being followed in the Pancharatra Agama today may be different, whatever the Moola Siddhantas, it has to be examined, but this is what in those days they have interpreted, somebody has interpreted like that, and with them Bhagavatpada has discussed it in this way. So Bhagavatpada says, you just consider whether it is correct to say that you should not do upasana of any devata other than Vishnu. Is it correct? So then you tell me, Bhagavatpada asks him, whether Gayatri upasana has to be done or not. Gayatri is another devata, it is a separate devata other than Vishnu, but Gayatri is a mantra which is very important to all of us. So without learning Gayatri, is it permissible to even do Vishnu upasana? So is what Bhagavatpada says. Then you cannot say that it is not necessary to take up Gayatri, because Gayatri is so important to our Vaidika Sanatana Dharma. So he says, the other person, Pancharatra Agamika says, no, as per my tradition, Gayatri is also a Vishnu Shakti. How do you say that? Because Gayatri also has the Shankha Chakra. In the Dhyana Shloka of Gayatri, it says that Shankhan Chakra Matharavinda Yugalam Hastair Pahantim Bhaja. All the Vishnu Chinhas are also there in the hands of Gayatri. So Yatra Yatra Vishnu Chinha Dharanam Tatra Tatra Tadrupatvam. So because she bears the Vishnu Chinha, Shankha and Chakra, I say that she is also a Vishnu Shakti. So the upasana of Gayatri is not wrong, or there is no conflict in my mata with the Gayatri upasana. But then Bhagavatpada says, okay, you opine like this, but there are other people who are especially devoted to Shiva. So what will they say? They will say that Gayatri is actually a Rudra Shakti. Tarhi Rudra Shakti Reveti Bhaktavya Katham Panchavadana Indu Shekharattvadi Upamanat. So because you point out that she is having Shankha Chakra, they will point out that she is having, she has 5 heads and she is wearing the Chandrakala on her forehead. So because of that, that is, those dharmas are known to be identified with Shiva. So so they will say that it is Gayatri is actually a Shaiva Shakti. But then he says, no, you have to examine what is the meaning of Gayatri. When you examine the meaning of Gayatri, it refers to the Bhargaha, the Tejas, the effulgence, the Prakasha of Surya. And Surya, we very well know that Surya Narayana he is. So the mantra, it is talking about the Pratipadya is about Surya only. And because of that, Gayatri is definitely Vishnu related, a Vaishnava Shakti only. And again, And because Vishnu can take so many other forms, so the Vishnu Shakti Gayatri can take the five-headed form, there is no problem about it. Again, Bhagavad-pada points out, if you are insisting on that, then again, from the Shiva Mata side, what will they say? They will say that Shiva is called Ashtamurti, the Pancha Mahabhutas, the Surya Chandra, and those who are doing the Vedika Karmanushtanas, these are the 8 forms of Shiva, and that is why he is called, Bhagavan Shiva is called Ashtamurti. And among those 8 forms, Surya is also there. So, by the same argument, because Gayatri is talking about Surya, and Surya is the Murti of Shiva, then we can say that Gayatri is actually a Shiva Paramantra only. And in which case, again, it will conflict with your Siddhanta that you should do Upasana of Vishnu only. Vishnu or Vishnu related Shaktis only. And further, he goes ahead to say, again, we have to very clearly keep in mind that the Paramasiddhanta of Bhagavad-pada is that both Shiva and Vishnu are forms of the single Paramatma only. This is only the Bhagavad-pada is presenting the counterpoint. Just to you have to examine those pramanas which are pointing to Gayatri being a Shiva Shakti. And definitely Gayatri is also a Shiva Shakti, and she is also a Vishnu Shakti, because she is actually Paramatma Shakti, and Shiva and Vishnu are various forms of that Paramatma only. So that is where Bhagavad-pada is taking this. But the presentation is that he is presenting the counterpoint to make this person understand. So, and further Bhagavad-pada says, Gayatri Hridaya Gayatri Utpatti Prakaropi Nitaram Pratibaditaha. So you should understand, just like by your own argument, when Gayatri talks about Surya, she is a Rudra Shakti, because Surya is also a form of Rudra. And further you examine the Gayatri Hridaya, it talks about how Gayatri was formed. From Pranava, Pranavat Vyahrityutpattihi, Vyahritibhyo Gayatritpattihi. So from Pranava, the Vyahritis came, from Vyahritis, Gayatri came. And what does actually Pranava talk about? So there is the Upanishad which is known as Mahanarayana itself, and it says that the vowels which starts the Veda and which is at the end of the Veda also, and what is the meaning of that syllable, which is the first syllable, and that of course it refers to the Pranava only, Samaheshwaraha. So in the Mahanarayana Upanishad itself it is said that Pranava refers to the Maheshwara, and from that Pranava came the Gayatri. So again it means that Gayatri is related to Shiva only. And further, in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it is said there is a Antaryami Brahmana. The word Antaryami is a very important word in today's Vaishnava tradition also, and it definitely indicates the Paramatma who is there within all that is working or moving or existing in this entire physical world. Bhagavan, who is inside, he is the inside, and who controls from inside, he is the Antaryami. And the Antaryami Brahmana also says that Bhagavan is the Antaryami of Surya also. And again, as per the Shaiva Mata, again the same sentence could definitely be applied to the Vishnu Vaishnava Mata also. But as per the Shaiva Mata, they can always interpret this to say that it refers to Shiva, who is the Antaryami of the Surya only. So, and so again, Shiva, Surya, Gayatri and Agni. Bhagavad-pada in his Prashnottara Ratnamalika, he says that these 3 are very important forms of Paramatma for Upasana. So in that, Gayatri and Surya both have been proven within quotation marks to be related to Shiva only. And again, Agni, he is also one of the Panchamahabhutas, and he is also, as per the Ashtamurti Siddhanta, he is also a form of Shiva. So even Agni Upasana you will have to forsake. If you say that you should not do any Upasana of any Rupa other than Vishnu. So again, the Paramasiddhanta Tatparya of all this is to say that you should not differentiate. You start differentiating, there are so many different kinds of ways to differentiate. So we should understand that whether the Shiva Parashrutis or the Vishnu Parashrutis, they are all talking about the single Paramatma only. And evam Vaishnava matasya. So when Bhagavatpada was explaining all this to the person following the Pancharatra Siddhanta, one Vaishnava, he comes whose Siddhanta, the Sharngapadi, he left earlier or he accepted Bhagavatpada's Siddhanta earlier. This is another Vaishnava, he says, see, the Pancharatragama is also supporting all the Siddhantas which were mentioned by the Vaishnava earlier, that the Vishnu symbols have to be worn and all that. So, if you don't accept that aspect of Vaishnava Vishnu Mata, then even the Pancharatra Mata would not have any strength. So definitely the Vaishnava Mata has to be accepted. So you see that this is a very dynamic description. So that one Vaishnava Sharngapani accepted Advaita Siddhanta and he left, and Bhagavatpada is talking to somebody else, and in the middle of it, somebody else comes and talks. So this Anandagiri Acharya has observed all these things, being along with Bhagavatpada, and he is describing these things. So Bhagavatpada points out to him that, see, I have explained this already. Whatever is as per Veda, that can be taken to be dharma. If something is against Veda, that cannot be considered as dharma, because Veda is the Moola Pramana for dharma. So whatever form of wearing the symbols of Vishnu is acceptable as per Veda, that may definitely be followed. But if something is against the principle of the Shruti Smritis, that should not be observed, is what which we learn from the Dharma Shastra, because it says that Atindriyartha Vijnane Pramanam Shrutirevahi Shrutukta Acharato Grahya hi Agamanam Pramanata. So whatever may be said in the Agamas, yes, the Agamas have certain role to play, but the Moola Pramana for Dharma is Shruti, and again the summary of the Shruti in the Smriti form only. So as per that only we can accept the Pramanya of the Agamas. And so just by wearing these symbols, one cannot attain moksha, is something that we have mentioned earlier also. Jnanadrite moksho nabhavati. So we have to attain jnana to attain moksha, and we have to realize. Bhagavatpada shows some Shruti Vakyas from the Kaivalya Upanishad. Sarva bhutastham atmanam sarva bhutani chatmani sampashyan brahma paraman jati na anyena hetuna. So we have to realize that whatever is there in the creation, that is all in all those things, the Atma Swarupa is there, and all that creation is in fact within the Atma Swarupa only. So when we realize this, we will attain the Brahmavastu, and not by any other way. And again, other verses also from the Kaivalya Upanishad, which say that whatever Jagrat Swapna Sushuptyadi, whatever we see in the waking state, the dreaming state, or the deep sleep state, whatever we see, all that is Brahmaswarupa only, and that is my form. We have to realize that Brahma ahamiti jnatva sarva bandhai pramuchyate. And this is what is shown by the Shruti Smriti. So we have to realize that it is important, whatever is Shruti Smriti Vihita Vishnu Chinha or Shiva Chinha, we can accept, and the Agamas definitely have a role to play. But the Parama Moksha Marga is to realize that one is abhinna with Bhagavan Vasudeva. So by this Upadesha of Bhagavatpada, Madhavaha Swakulagrama Deshavasibhisaha Shuddha Advaita Vrityam Prapya. And this is very important to note here. This Madhava, who was following the Vishnu Mata, he, along with the people from his village and his region, they all accepted the Advaita Siddhanta. But then, note this, Snana Sandhya Agnihotra Swadhyaya Vaishwadeva Atithi Puja Parayanaha. So nowadays, it is quite common to see that Vedanta philosophical Upadesha is done, removed away from, because saying that we have to attain detachment, it has become detached from the karma anushtanas. But that is not how Bhagavat